For almost 5 years, the entire MMA world kept asking one question: is Conor McGregor ever coming back? Now suddenly, the UFC has finally made it official. Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway is happening. But here's the scary part nobody wants to talk about. Conor is no longer the same fighter who ruled the UFC years ago. He's older, inactive, coming off brutal injuries, and standing across from him is one of the most dangerous strikers in the sport right now. A man who recently flatlined Justin Gaethje in one of the craziest knockouts we've ever seen. Some fans are calling this the greatest comeback in UFC history. Others believe this could end badly for Conor McGregor. And trust me, once the full details of this fight, the weight class, the rematch history, and everything happening behind the scenes get revealed, this entire comeback story becomes even crazier than people realize. So brothers, the wait is finally over because Conor McGregor's UFC comeback fight has officially been announced. For the last 4 years, MMA fans across the world have been asking the same question again and again: when will Conor McGregor finally return to the Octagon? Well, now the answer is finally here because the UFC has officially confirmed a massive fight between Conor McGregor and Max Holloway. In this video, everything connected to this fight is going to be discussed in complete detail. The biggest discussion right now is whether Conor McGregor can actually make such a huge comeback after staying away from fighting for such a long time, whether he still has enough left to defeat a dangerous fighter like Max Holloway, and whether this comeback could turn into one of the biggest moments in UFC history. Along with that, yesterday's Netflix MMA event will also be covered because the card featured some massive names, including Ronda Rousey, Francis Ngannou, and Nate Diaz. On top of all that, there is once again new controversy involving lightweight contender Arman Tsarukyan after another backstage issue with a fellow fighter. But before getting into all these topics, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy UFC and combat sports content in Hindi. Finally, after years of rumors, fake reports, and non-stop updates, Conor McGregor's return fight is now officially confirmed. Honestly, if someone collected every single Conor McGregor comeback update video uploaded on YouTube during the last few years, it would probably become a full library on its own. But after all the waiting and speculation, something real has finally happened. This fight is set to take place at UFC 329 on July 12, 2026 in the welterweight division. And while recording this video, only 52 days are left before Conor McGregor finally makes his return to the Octagon. Personally, the excitement level right now is extremely high. In the previous video, strong rumors about this matchup were already discussed because usually only serious and reliable rumors are covered here, and this fight clearly had strong momentum behind it from the beginning. One of the biggest reasons behind this excitement is the fact that ever since this channel started, Conor McGregor has not fought even once. For a very long time, viewers and subscribers have been told that at least once in their lives they should experience what a real Conor McGregor fight week feels like, because the hype around his fights is completely different from anything else in MMA. If people thought fights like Khamzat versus Strickland had crazy energy and wild trash talk, then a Conor McGregor fight week feels 10 times bigger than that. The atmosphere around his fights becomes absolutely insane. Honestly, it feels lucky to have witnessed some legendary fight weeks in MMA history. Anderson Silva's fight weeks were experienced live. Brock Lesnar's fight weeks were witnessed. Several McGregor fight weeks were seen personally, and even the iconic UFC 229 event featuring Khabib versus McGregor was experienced as well. So now, fans are finally going to witness UFC 329 together. Now comes the biggest question of all: can Conor McGregor actually complete this comeback successfully? A lot of people, including Conor himself, are calling this the greatest comeback of all time. But realistically speaking, can he really defeat Max Holloway in 2026? Looking at the situation honestly, Conor has not fought in nearly 5 years. He stepped away from the sport because of injuries, while Max Holloway, despite losing his last fight, still remains one of the most dangerous fighters in the UFC today. At UFC 300, he brutally knocked out Justin Gaethje and looked incredible at lightweight. If this fight is judged realistically right now, it probably feels around 65-35 in favor of Max Holloway. Conor is older now, inactivity hurts every fighter badly, and Max is younger, more active, and still competing regularly at the highest level of MMA. But at the same time, this is still Conor McGregor being discussed. Completely counting him out has always been risky. There was also a time when nobody believed he could become the UFC's first simultaneous two-division champion, yet somehow he still made history. And for people who may not know, this is actually a rematch. Conor McGregor and Max Holloway already fought once back in 2013, and even after suffering a knee injury during that fight, Conor still managed to defeat Holloway. That is exactly why many fans still believe another upset is possible here. A lot of people are underestimating Conor's striking ability. Yes, Max Holloway has elite boxing skills, but Conor's left hand still carries serious knockout power. And usually, power is the last thing a fighter loses with age. Another very interesting factor is the weight class itself, because this fight is happening at welterweight. Conor has already competed there before and looked physically strong, especially during the Donald Cerrone fight. But Max Holloway has never fought at welterweight before, and even at lightweight he sometimes looked smaller compared to other fighters. So once the face-offs and press conferences begin, the physical size difference between both fighters could become very noticeable and very interesting to watch. And just imagine if this fight reaches the final rounds and both fighters begin exchanging shots in the middle of the octagon during a wild brawl. For combat sports fans, moments like that are exactly why MMA is loved so much. Now moving toward the Netflix MMA event, the Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry fight had to be stopped because Nate suffered extremely heavy bleeding. The fight itself was entertaining, but honestly speaking, Nate Diaz seriously needs to think about retiring from professional MMA for the sake of his long-term health. Yes, Nate has always been someone who cuts and bleeds easily, but after so many brutal wars inside the cage, it genuinely feels like his body has taken far too much damage over the years. Even the way he speaks and reacts at times shows clear signs of years of punishment in combat sports. Francis Ngannou also secured another knockout victory, but the most impressive thing about his performance was how technical he looked. This was not the same old Francis throwing only wild punches. He looked patient, calm, and much smarter with his counter-punching, probably because of the experience he gained from boxing recently. Jon Jones was also sitting ringside during the event, and once again he mentioned that he still wants to fight Francis Ngannou one day. But the biggest issue is that Francis is no longer signed with the UFC, while Jon Jones still remains under UFC contract. Dana White clearly has no interest in working with Ngannou anymore, which makes this fight extremely difficult to arrange. The main event featured Ronda Rousey, who submitted Gina Carano in just 15 seconds. A lot of fans online joked that both fighters robbed the bank because they earned millions of dollars for such a short fight. And finally, Arman Tsarukyan once again found himself surrounded by backstage controversy. Reports say the issue started because of comments Arman had made earlier about Kurdistan during a live stream. Later on, he confronted another fighter backstage, and the situation nearly turned physical before security stepped in. Honestly, Arman Tsarukyan seriously needs to calm down. The UFC does not like fighters constantly creating problems at different events. Right now, his main focus should be securing his title shot instead of becoming part of fresh controversies every few weeks. So brothers, what are your thoughts on Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway? Can Conor really complete one of the greatest comebacks in UFC history, or will Max Holloway simply prove too much for him? Make sure to share your opinions in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel UFC Zone X. See you all in the next update. Bye bye.